Merhaba, Halk Oyunları sohbetine hoş geldiniz. Ben İdris Küçük. Bu hafta Anthony Shay ile yapmış olduğumuz görüşmenin 3. ve son bölümünü dinliyoruz. When we say something academic, I want to ask, for example, imagine that in your readings, you are reading something about dance historiography, you saw a term, Etnokoreohistory. What it comes to you? What you imagine, what can be
What
in
it
it?
would be in my mind is a history of traditional dance.
I believe that the mainstream dance historiography is going on, starts from the European courts and comes
Well, you're
to
talking about theater dance. You're talking about art dance, ballet, modern dance. That is directly out of the court traditions of Europe. They were inspired sometimes by traditional dances, but they weren't. That history is what I call, and I taught a course every year because, in American universities, modern dance is the only dance that they actually teach. So I had to develop a course for those students. And so, of course, I looked at those dances, the court dances, what they meant, who taught them, how they were performed, what the meaning was for the participants. And then after Louis XIV retired and the split between professional dancers and amateur dancers began at that point. So, yes, that's one kind of history. I would never term it as historical dance because ethno-choreo history. I created the term ethno-identity dance to distinguish dancing for purposes of representation on a stage in front of an audience, to distinguish it from dance in the field.
Yes.
Because everybody was calling it folk dance. Everything was called folk dance. And until the way that folk dance no longer meant anything because it covered too much.
I mean the narrative of the mainstream educational systems all around the world about the dance history. Even in Turkey, in my master program, I got that courses in the title of World Dance History. We started from Italy, France, Louis XIV, then
with art dance
and Ballet de Russe, then Danish court, British court, United States, and comes back to Germany and expressionist
and Mary Wigman,
contemporary
Martha Graham,
yes.
On and on.
How do, for example, even Norwegians hamburger dance is not involved in this narrative.
Never.
So, I mean, in the ethno-choreo history, there is an different historiography should be followed on this way. So also in the Western dance education, as far as I observed, if something is not Western,
it's ignored.
It must be about the colonization or the maybe Afro-American about white supremacy. It must be about this kind of topics around. So, for example, Turkey is not a part of the colonization, but it's not also in the mainstream dance historiography.
Nor will it ever be. Because that is the ethnocentric way of looking at dance, as if only that form of dance is important. We don't look at the classical dance traditions of India or Japan or China. They have 1,000-year-old dance traditions, and we disregard them because they're not part of a Western.
Oh, in our previous connection, we talked about a bit ethnochoreo history. For first impressions about that term for you, you said is basically yes, folk dance history. So you read about my drafts.
I did read your
Could you
draft.
enlarge about your ideas about ethnochoreo history?
We have so many. This is one of the problems is we have too many terms.
Yeah.
We have ethnokoreology,
Yeah.
we have folk dance study, we have traditional dance.
Yeah.
I mean, we say non-Western dance. I
Yeah.
hate that term.
Yeah.
We have all of these terms. Ethnochoreo history, what it means to me when I first hear the term is the idea of tracing the history of a particular dance tradition.
Yes, definitely.
That's how I would.
Definitely, I want to enlighten in minds.
That's as good as any other term.
Yeah.
I've heard ethnochoreology, dance anthropology.
Yeah.
They all more or less mean the same thing. So ethnochoreo history is as good a term as any.
Not very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I presume by that you mean you are looking at as much of the history of a particular dance tradition as it's possible for us to.
Possible. Yeah. And all terms are trying to specify something else to clarify to dealers,
They are
scientists.
Part of that comes from the background of each school of scholarship. For example, in Europe, if you're tracing folk dances, you tend to trace the folk dances of your own nation. So Hungarian ethnochoreologists look at Hungarian dance, and Croatian ones look at Croatian dance, and so on and so forth. In the United States, the opposite was true. American researchers, like myself, tend to look outside of our own nation, and that has led, I think, to a great deal of misunderstanding in what people are doing and how they're studying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So one of my question was that. So you explained a bit earlier. Could you explain a bit being a dance scholar in the United States? I was going to ask, but you said already we are keen on to look to other side of the country.
Well, a dance scholar in America is more than that. Not more, but it's different than that. It's the idea, many of the people drawn into dance scholarship, and dance scholarship, as I'm sure you know, was all focused on theatrical dance forms.
Stage.
The history of ballet, the history of a specific ballet, who danced in it. I mean, the details are of ballet history or the history of modern dance or whatever dance is called these days. I guess it's contemporary dance. So Western theatrical dance forms were the core of American interest.
Dance history.
Dance, yes. Then, and for that reason, because everybody wants to know what the origins of a dance were, right? So that meant there was a great deal of speculation and very bad writing about prehistoric dance. Who was here 25,000 years ago? We don't know what prehistoric dance looked like. We have not a clue. So
just predictions.
But it was speculation. And then statements like, all folk dance was originally religious. How do we know that? And because what they were trying to get at was that this was a primitive dance style. Then folk dance was a little more civilized because people who lived in caves did prehistoric dances, but peasants who were a little more cultivated did folk dances. And then the real people, real art was done at the courts. And so ballet and then later modern dance became the focus of almost all dance history in the United States.
Are these related with some improvement about cultivation or finding the steam machine, like this kind of evolution of humanity?
The early dance histories were very evolutionary.
Yeah.
And that meant that you built a hierarchy. Ballet was at the top, and then contemporary dance. And
Where is the folk dance?
yeah,
In this hierarchy.
and I will make a confession to you. I hate modern dance. I think it is one of the ugliest forms of movement I have ever seen, because it was created in opposition to ballet, which is considered by most people to be pretty and refined. So modern dance was going to be gritty and real and earthy, right? So what that meant was that it came out looking pretty awful. And I remember being in a couple of concerts at UCLA that were, so ugly that, for example, they had one dance in the year I was 1963, and they pulled these little wagons around, dancers in masks, but they were worn backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very modern. And then they scratched on the walls, and the music accompaniment was two radios. They would turn on one radio randomly, so you could get a news broadcast or music of some sort. Then they would turn on the other radio. Then they would turn on this radio. And these people walked around the room and they scratched on the walls. And this was considered to be modern because it wasn't ballet. It was ugly. Ballet is pretty. So, I remember going out after that concert, and my friends and I sat in a restaurant and we laughed for 20 minutes until the tears were coming to our eyes. And
I think what is unrespectful is that that form is not needed too much rehearsal. So it's not respectful for me because someone is doing too many rehearsals.
Oh, because
to get them in front of audiences.
Yes, that was the idea. It was called experimental dance, and you just went out on the in the class and you did whatever you felt. How can you do anything in the arts that does not have a technique?
I approach. Psychologically, I believe that everybody needs an acceptance. Everybody needs applause from someone. It's a need, I think.
I looked at modern dance and I wondered why never gained large audiences. It was always confined either to New York City in a small studio, or where it was performed in small studios, whereas ballet was performed in large theaters. And then, as you know, in the 1950s, in the Cultural Cold War, the Eastern and Western blocs knew they couldn't throw bombs at each other. The atomic bomb had destroyed that. So dance became a major form of diplomacy. So every country started building a national dance company. The Georgian National Company, the Shukashvili is a very good example. And these companies, audiences loved them. They flocked to them in the thousands. They performed in the same places ballet did. And I kept wondering, why is it that modern dance, for all the talking up they try to do, this is an art form and it means so much, and I thought, why is it never developed audiences? Then I actually, in my teaching my dance history courses, I came across I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you get a chance, it's a wonderful piece of art. Revelations by, name just blanked out on mine, Alvin Ailey. Alvin Ailey was an African-American dancer. He trained with Martha Graham he danced in her company briefly in the 50s. And then he formed his own company, and he created this work called Revelations. And Revelations is done, it's a very unique piece. It's done to African American sacred music. Yeah. So it's songs that he heard as a child in his church setting, because he was raised in a small town in Texas. And I looked, and that dance is absolutely as captivating to me as watching Swan Lake, which I also enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I'm not just confined to looking at folk dance, right?
Yeah, me too.
So, and I looked at this piece. Then another choreographer later he's younger than I am. His name is Mark Morris, and he created a piece based on Handel's music. In other words, he used a piece of Baroque music, and his piece was done with a live chorus and orchestra and dancers in Madrid in the Royal, it was filmed there. In Spain. Yeah. And I thought, why are these two pieces so popular? Well, I looked at them. First of all, most modern dance is done in really ugly costumes, or they just wear exercise clothes. These two pieces had real costuming. They had real music. They had spectacle. Spectacle is what is offered in ballet. It's offered by the Georgians, the Moiseyev company. Yeah. And now we have these two modern dance pieces that are also spectacle, with beautiful costumes, beautiful music. And then I realized that the audience craves beauty, and however one defines that, they want something that is not just two people groaning in agony and rolling around the stage. They want whatever movement tradition you're in, whatever genre you're in, they want something that has a beautiful visual effect, a beautiful thing to listen to. Yeah. And that is what most of modern dance lacks. And that is why, for instance, in Turkey, contemporary dance never gained a real foothold. It's not relevant to people. Yeah. That word I use, folk dances are. They love the National Dance Company.
It's not common sense in Turkey.
They want to see that. Ballet works, they have a national company. I saw it in Istanbul. It was very good. Yeah. It works because it has spectacle. It has a symphony orchestra to accompany it. So we're looking at what is it that draws people into a theater to watch something.
By the way, I'm not underestimating a chain starts from Isadora Duncan, Martha Graham, Merce Cunningham, and Steve Paxton, this kind of line. I don't underestimate. I admire their specific, and also in the recently Akram Khan's choreographies. I watched them in Sadler's Wells in London. So yes, it's a good form, but in general, I couldn't
relate
with the rehearsed folk dances. I couldn't see a respectful rehearsal background in all modern dance performances. So modern dance is a very popular in last century, as you know. Do you
not
think,
really. I don't think so.
Don't you think?
It never got to be popular. That was the problem. They had a very small audience of people who would go. Martha Graham, until her company got big and she became important, only a small audience would go to see her in a small studio. Modern dance never had audiences.
So why this kind of too many numerous articles, scientific works about modern dance?
Because in the American education system, that's what I was talking about before, it is a dance form that was deliberately planted by 6 women teachers who fell in love with Martha Graham back in the 50s. And they established at UCLA, at the University of Minnesota, at various places, they started a modern dance program to, what they wanted to do was detach the folk dance teaching that was like a physical exercise, not for the art, not for the visual, but as a physical education suitable to young women's bodies.
Could you articulate the names of that 5 women who lost Martha Graham?
I have them. Alma Hawkins was one of them. There was a woman named Margaret Dublier. That's spelled H''D. It's a very strange name, but she was at the University of Minnesota. These women met and they started classes at their universities. The UCLA, for example, was one of the first places they moved the folk dance classes held for girls out of the physical education department into a separate department because they wanted to make dance an art form. For them, folk dance was just a physical exercise. It was not an art form. Martha Graham was art. So they were trying to separate dance as a physical education form into an art form. And that art form was going to be Martha Graham style modern dance. It spread all over America and got a stranglehold on, and I mean a stranglehold.
When it happened, for example, in the 60s or 70s?
50s and 60s.
50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So in that time, there is a road separation. One is going on physical educational system, and it represents the sportive improvement of the body.
Yes.
Then the other one is going on the Martha Graham's way, and it's considered as an art form.
Right. And the Martha Graham style, as their disciples and students were placed in each college and university, replaced that old style of folk dance. And that old style of folk dance from 1900 to 1950, they have books where the teachers would learn the dances. They had them step by step, and they played the music on pianos. There was no attempt to be authentic. They weren't interested in doing an authentic Swedish folk dance. They were only interested in this for young girls to move.
In the same time, in the 50s and 60s, you mentioned before our previous communication, black movements and gay movements, or
the civil rights movements.
Civil rights movements started in the United States.
Yes.
So that's why maybe this kind of difference happened. Is it related with that?
I can't see a relationship because it happened really earlier.
In 50s, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier than that.
Yeah, it happened.
Maybe that trigger can be different. That kind of dance movements can affect the other movements.
It is possible because Martha Graham was a person who had non-white people in her company way back in the 40s and 50s. So that was already a progressive thing. And modern dance was very much part of the leftist political movement. that it was related to. And political intellectuals loved modern dance, and they were centered in San Francisco and New York and places like that.
Yeah.
So, and if you notice, in our school system, I mean, we do have a ballet teacher at Pomona College, but we, in the final concert where the students show their work, they never show ballet.
Yeah.
Only modern. Only modern.
So can we say, is it correct or not, modern dance and ballet represents the intellectual, educated, white supremacy.
So,
but on the other hand, folk dance represents rural areas and uneducated societies, maybe primitives. Like
well, in the minds of many people,
yeah,
yes, I would say that. The leftist movement liked modern dance because it was modern and it was progressive and it was forward. So yes, there was a connection. The reason that you see so many articles written, ballet, however, was a bit different. Ballet was embraced by the rich and the
elitist,
the elite population, because that distanced you from the common people who liked doing social dances and modern dance, those jazz and that kind of thing. So this made you refined, and so you showed that you were a patron of the arts by contributing money to the local ballet company. Then the modern dance picked up the intellectuals. Because these people went to schools and so on, this is why we see so much research done in those fields as opposed to regional dance.
I want to ask a different question. In the auspices of the Etnokorea history term, I believe that folk dances are modern enough, and for instance, I care carbon footprint, and I'm sensitive to environment issues. I respect the human rights, and I dance horon. My identical dance is horon. So, if so, doesn't it make me modern? And also the horon that I danced, can't we say folk dance is a modern? What makes a dance modern?
It's not. Modern became a term they used for Martha Graham's dances, right? But after a while, you couldn't call it modern anymore because modern dance at that time period was related to genres we call modern art and modern music. So it was a philosophical and aesthetic movement of the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Okay, so modern is not the word I would use. That's why I use the word relevant. If you, for example, in the 1960s, in the United States, well, let me back up. In the 40s, there was a movement that came out of the Depression related to that physical education program for girls that I told you about. In the Depression period, people had no money, and they were looking for a hobby that they could do. And these folk dances became a big hobby in America. So clubs started forming around all over America. In California alone, there were more than 1,000 of these clubs. They were in small towns, they were in parks and so on. When I started dancing, this was a big hobby, and I got involved in it. Most of the people were very nice people, and this was a clean activity. Like Turkish folk dance, you could have safely men and women in the same environment, and it was safe for the women to be there. Okay. In the 1960s, young people, and here we get into what you're talking about, the relationship between young men and women who care about the Vietnamese War, who care about the environment, who care about civil rights, got caught up in Balkan dancing, out of which Turkish dance was one of the last chapters in it. But Balkan dancing from the period of 1956 right up until, well, it's still kind of popular, but not in the way it was, up until the year 1990, was a big intellectual activity. The rhythms of it, da da da da da da da da da da da, or da da da da da da da da da da da. This was fascinating for Americans, and they wanted these young people in America, mostly young white educated college students, to the point where every college in America, at least on the East Coast and West Coast and the upper part of the Midwest, where you have blue states today, these young people, every college had a club that did these dances, and it became a big movement with newsletters and summer camps where people would go sit for 2 weeks to learn from a Serbian teacher, a Turkish teacher, a Croatian teacher, a Macedonian teacher, a Bulgarian teacher, and they would dance morning, noon, and night, and have parties at night. It was a thing. It was a movement, and it involved probably 100,000 people at its height. It was a big movement. These dances were appealing to this very progressive thinking crowd precisely because they were old and earthy and connected to something old and ancient in the minds of those who watched them. And they were connected, and the people who did them, who were peasants, were earthy, and they were real in a way that modern American cities in the 1960s weren't. So are these dances modern? It's not a word I would use, even though you are and I am modern. I would not say these dances are modern, but their appeal to us is a different appeal than for the original people who lived in the villages who did them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I couldn't explain myself enough. If I'm modern, something else belongs to me. Doesn't it make modern?
Okay. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Is that a modern thing?
Yeah. If it suits with my recent time, it's modern. Why not?
Well, because it's an old thing that I do, because custom has me do it. It is still relevant to me.
Maybe we can call it classic.
No, I call it relevant.
Relevant, yeah.
Yes, classic has a whole different meaning. Relevant is, it's still important. It still has meaning in my life, right? Even though it's an old thing, it's something I want to do when it's someone's birthday. When a dance or a song or something, or a word in a language becomes no longer relevant and it's obsolete, then it's no longer something we use. So I would not use the word modern. I understand where you're trying to go, but I'm not going to go there with you, because these dances appeal to me, at least, because aesthetically
Yeah.
they mean something to me. They're relevant to me aesthetically.
Yeah.
But as far as being modern, no.
Yeah.
I would not call them modern per se.
So maybe we can consider that its naming is a bit about the era, the modern era, maybe modernity and postmodernity.
Well, if you look at the modern era, if we look at the 20s and 30s, artists like Dolly and Martha Graham were, because it was part of their, what I call mental furniture.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that appears to be normal to you. And for them, looking for the primitive was very important. And where did you find the primitive? For Martha Graham, it was in ancient Greek mythology or with Indians in America. These were the primitives, and artists of all kinds, very modern artists, were looking to those sources as inspiration for their modern art, which looked nothing like what the Indians themselves produced.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I thought, isn't it modern?
Yeah, no, for me, the aesthetic of traditional dances is such that I find it resonates in me.
Yeah.
But modern dance, I hate it. I really hate it. And but the reason that so many people write about it is because they're in dance programs all over America, and it means something to them. And so they write about it and they research it. I mean, many of them. So that is where dance research in America was focused. And people who did regional dances, they were usually local people, like someone from Appalachia, which is, do you know where Appalachia is? It's where Kentucky and Tennessee, there's a belt there. And they would look up and they would study the music and the lifestyle and everything of the people there. So dance scholars, until very, very late, never looked at that kind of thing. They were into the art.
Yeah.
It had to be art.
Yeah.
Folk dance was not for these people art. It so happened.
It's odd for me,
But for me, it was, when I saw it, it was something I loved. And when I saw Kolo, the Serbian national dance group, suddenly I saw what aesthetically appealed to me, packaged in the same way that ballet was packaged and put on the stage.
A different question about language education. Do you think any similarities between language education and dance education, like in the language education, adding suffix to end of the words or adding prefix?
I think dance is very much like language. It has a vocabulary. There are, out of all the possible human movements, we have stylized versions that people in a village historically at some point have agreed to as their aesthetic form of dance expression. Just like human communities choose certain words that have meaning and words that don't have meaning. In Turkey, we have a very good example that when Atatürk came to power, the Ottoman court language had been the official language, right? So in order to make Turkish more pure, they tried to get rid of the Arabic and Persian words, of which the Ottoman language was 80% of those, right? So
in the dance way, also we try to emphasize our own pure dance tradition in Anatolia.
Whatever a pure dance tradition is.
Yeah, yes,
right?
It's debatable, but yes.
That's a debatable.
Yes.
So,
but
yes.
At least an effort on it.
So, yes, so we have then a situation in which language is very much like dance. You learn it the same way. You learn it if you're living in a village X. You learn it as a child by the people around you doing it.
It also affects your improvisation way, isn't it?
Absolutely. So in Iran, for example, when there's a party, people get up and they do improvisation. The whole dance is improvisation. There is, within that improvisation, a system. You go to the right, then you go to the left. You go up, and then you go down. Or you cross over, and then you cross. So there's a system. People tend to do something from one side to the other. They'll move their heads in a particular way. So there is a system in their minds. There is an aesthetic thing. And like language, which is imprinted in the mind, which is why children learn it so quickly, there's a place in the mind that it can be imprinted. Dance is very much the same thing.
I observe a different relation with the language and dance education also because of the United States is a very big country, very pioneer country in the world. So their language is also in a supremacy in the science-wise or in cultural-wise. That's why it affects too many cultures around the world. So, by the way, by this language effect, the dances are connectingly changing or shifting to modern as their observation.
Nothing lasts forever. There was a time when, in Western world at least, French was the dominant language. It so happened that English became dominant after World War I. And this was the time when we have the explosion of mechanical things. So if you're flying an airplane, it doesn't matter if you're Turkish or Chinese or something, you all need one word that says stop. So that is why if you go all over the world, that red sign, often with STOP in it, means stop. It just happened that English happened to be the dominant language at the time of that spread.
And because of inventions of positive science, mechanics, because of airplane or mobile phones like that.
All of those
big innovations.
You need a common language among people from many different cultures in order to have the basic understanding to prevent terrible accidents or right. So necessity, the dominant language at the time of the spread of all these inventions happened to be English. Believe me, if those gadgets had started earlier, we would all be doing it in French.
Maybe.
As they did in ballet. When you go to a Russian dance school, the ballet class is held in Russian, in French. Not in Russian.
French terminology.
And it so happened that at the moment that particular dance tradition came into being, French was the language attached to it. It's perfectly possible, especially given the war we're looking at in the Middle East, that the next language the world will be using will be Chinese.
Maybe.
That's a possibility. So, all of these things are not in granite. They're not in rock. They can change.
They can change.
And that's a historical thing. It's not because English is some superior language. It's just another language among languages.
Again, I want to say in the context of ethnokoreotarih history, I start the dance historiography from the dance archaeology. So
dance archives?
Yes, I put in order the dance research in the context of the ethnokoreotarih history. The first step is trying to achieve the first sources like archaeology, or if there isn't any archaeological evidence, I try to find the oldest person as an verbal.
Well, we also have like the Suriname.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
also poetry descriptions.
poetry, literature,
Literature.
travelers' descriptions.
yeah.
I mean, it's a whole range of the sources you have to assemble
Yeah.
to try to put together an image of.
In a general question, could you explain a bit dance historians' sources?
Well, it depends on the dance form.
You bring some books.
Books, of course, are very important. Let's say if you're a ballet historian, you want to find old programs. You want to find paintings like
Degas.
Degas. This kind of thing. You try to assemble as many of these sources, letters people wrote to each other. Last night I went to a ballet performance at the X Theater in Paris and I saw this dance.
What if I am a dance historian of Horon or Zeybek or Honolulu dances?
Hula.
Different
Hula
dances.
Okay. So hula,
it's just a sample in anywhere in the world.
Right. Well, hula specifically, we have the earliest descriptions we have are from English sailors who went to the island with James Cook, the Cook expedition.
No, I'm not asking especially there, in general.
Right.
But place. I'm asking dance sources.
So what we find from that expedition, it's important. They had someone on, because in the 19th century, without cameras, they had someone on board who could draw what they saw. So we have drawings. We have people who described what they saw. So we have those descriptions. So each dance is going to have a different set of traditions, and we have a tricky thing. Was the Zeybek always the dance we see today that we call Zeybek? Did it have a different form in history? Did it have maybe another name to it? So that's always another issue. So we have to, when we're looking for the information, we have to make sure that what we're reading, it matches the dance we're familiar with.
For example, we know the Zeybek term as a rebellion against the Ottoman supremacy in the 19th and 18th centuries, but maybe before there is a dance exactly similar to this in the Zeybek form, and maybe
has a different name.
Has a different name, maybe. We don't know. It's not clear because there isn't any written sources belongs to that era.
Right, and then we have the Greek dance called Zembekikos, which is part and parcel of their cafe tradition. So
taverns,
that has a whole different meaning, a different social meaning, a different social life. Obviously, it was a dance that Greeks who had lived in the Izmir area had done, when they lived there, and to what degree did it change? And all of those, the questions that come up are really interesting.
And questions are endless and answers also endless.
Yes, exactly.
So, and being with you every time precious for me. But lastly, I want to ask, would you like to add something else special, or am I missing something else to ask? Or
no, I the only thing I would say is that as we go through our research, there comes a time point where we have assembled almost everything we can find. If we're lucky, sometime later we'll find a letter, a book, a something, a traveler's thing that will mention something. But we don't know. There will be always, because dance is about movement and it's dynamic and it's always changing. Zeybek is not the same thing today that it probably was in 1900 or in 1800 if it existed then. So we, as dance researchers, we're looking for historical depth, but we're always faced, when we're looking at the dance, with a photo shot of a particular moment.
Yeah, because it starts in a time point and disappears in a narrow time.
Yeah, so that's always going to be there. We will always have restrictions, and we'll never be quite happy with what our results are. But there comes a time when we have to say, this is the best we can do.
Maybe this mystery is attractive for all dance researchers.
This is probably what I had a friend who did his master's on dances of Macedonia, and he was always looking, there must be one more. And he was looking, and finally the college said, you have been here 10 years for your master's degree, finish it. Because
in any way we have to finish something.
Yeah, exactly. So as the director of my dissertation said, Sally Ann Ness was her name. She said, this isn't the last thing you're going to write.
There is a saying in Turkey, finished one is better than the ongoing one.
Yes. So we'll always be in the dark. There will always be something that escapes us, but it's part of the field.
Thanks again. Thanks a lot. Really,
my pleasure.
Being with you is every time very pretty for me.
But I won't call folk dances modern.
Okay.
Relevant.
No.
Relevant. They are still relevant because we love to do them.
Maybe I don't want you get me wrong. I don't want to mean it's called modern dance. I mean modern.
That it's a modern thing.
Modern thing.
No, I understand where you're coming from. For me, it is a traditional thing whose origins I don't know. The problem with modern dance is the minute you do a choreography, it's already old-fashioned.
Definitely.
We don't have that problem with Zeybek. When we see a Zeybek, it's a Zeybek, and I can enjoy it as a Zeybek. It doesn't have to be modern. I don't have to see Anadolu Ateşi doing their version of it. I just enjoy seeing it when I see it, and I know what I'm looking at, because when I first saw it to the most recent time I saw it, it always had a similar form with each dancer doing it in a slightly different way. And I enjoyed it as that. That is why for me, it's still relevant. I still enjoy the viewing of it. Even though my own version of it is not the most
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yayını buraya kadar dinlediyseniz teşekkür ederim. Anthony Shay'in birçok kitabı olduğunu daha önce de söylemiştim. İçerisinde Türk yazarların da bulunduğu, editörlüğünü kendisinin yaptığı Palgrave Macmillan yayın evinden çıkan Middle Eastern Dance adlı son kitabını edinmenizi tavsiye ederim. Halk oyunlarıyla ilgili daha çok sözümüz var. Ancak şimdilik hoşça kalın.